All right, guys. Hi, it's Brad in the studio with MJ. I am here with another really special guest, a really good friend. I'm almost embarrassed to say how long I've known this guy, but actually I'm proud of how long I've known him. Mr. Mэтт Fordger, a dear, sweet guy, someone that goes way back in Michael's studio life and personal life. So Mэтtt, thank you. Thank you for doing this, for jumping in and kind of celebrating this this week. So hello.
Well, hello, Brad. It's so good to be in touch with you here as we are on opposite corners of the continental United States.
And it's a drag because normally most years I'm in LA this week. And most of the time, if I can yank you away from your busy schedule, you come out and hang out with us in the studio for a bit. But this is not the year for that, unfortunately. But thanks for jumping in with us.
No, it's not the year for that. It's unfortunate that we have to all weather what's happening with the pandemic, but we all have to deal with it, and we all have to, keep our lives together and move forward too. That's the important part.
Exactly. You're good. Your family's good.
Everybody's doing well.
Fantastic.
I don't think anybody is really doing extremely well because everyone is just under a crazy amount and type of stress that no one has experienced before. So, as long as everyone can, what gets me through is having a sense of humor in knowing that things will improve.
Fantastic. So I'm being normal, since you and I are friends, I veer off the track and off the script all the time. But you just said something that I watched you and I learned a lot from you. And you were so cool under pressure. And you always had, Bruce and Quincy and Rod and the whole crew and just this enormous amount of pressure that eventually I had to kind of ease into. But yeah, you did have a great sense of humor. I like to think I learned a little bit of that from you and just kind of grace under pressure.
Well, the job that, of course, that we had and all those that worked with us, who were ever part of the team effort, it was always the fact that there was this great collaborative energy.
Yeah.
And gosh, when you get a bunch of really talented, creative people together, and when they're actually nice people you enjoy actually spending time with, if that's what you call work, which we have been able to do. We have been able to call what we do, oh yes, my job is I go to the studio and I hang out with my buddies and we all make music. Gosh, it's a blessing and it's a true privilege and honor, not just to have a career and work in a recording studio making music, but also to work with the great individuals that we have both worked with. Michael, Quincy, and that's the top of the mountain, and all of those others that we've encountered.
Yep.
A lot of people.
All right. Well, we are going to dive into this.
Okay.
So even though I know it, go ahead and tell how and when you first met Michael and how your MJ journey began.
My MJ journey began when one day it was either Quincy or Bruce came in and they said something to the effect of, oh yeah, and one of the albums we're going to be recording is going to be Michael's next album. And I don't know what album it was that we were working on at the time. It probably was one of the first ones. So it might have been Ernie Watts or Lena Horne. And they kind of gave me the lay of the landscape. And they said, well, we've got some interesting albums coming up. And one of them is going to be Michael's next album. And I had never met him at that point. But I thought it would be fascinating to see what that world holds in terms of working with someone of his ability and talent. So I was very curious to start the experience. The actual first time I met Michael was the actual day that we had the tracking session for The Girl Is Mine.
Wow.
So that was an amazing day because I not only met Michael that day, but also Paul McCartney, his wife Linda, George Martin, Jeff Emmerich, the engineer that recorded the Beatles.
And you're just a small Beatles fan.
Just a very, very, very minor one because, like everyone,
you had heard of them.
Yes, and everyone who's probably of my age who grew up in that era, the Beatles changed the world.
Right.
And they changed the landscape of entertainment and music and youth and culture, society, everything was altered after that. And to be able to be with those people was, you know, they're living legends. Not that Michael isn't. Michael was a living legend too. So it's just that to be with all of those people was pretty darn exciting.
And you've told me about that session, and Steve Picaro's told me about that. But wasn't there a film crew there?
Somebody told me there was a film crew. I think it was Paul McCartney's. I want to say it was Paul McCartney had some film people, and if they were there, they came in and they shot a little bit of footage and then they disappeared. They didn't like hang for the whole thing.
Right.
They were documenting the event, but they also, I think, were cognizant enough to know that to make themselves scarce when the actual recording of music began.
Okay. So